Why do you think that you've been just ostracized, treated like a pariah on all these social media sites, man?
One, being a black man in America, number one, who's not only aware of the information, but who has it factual, not conjecture, not theory, but actual understanding of what conspiracies are, being articulate enough to say it, not being funded nor sponsored nor owned by anyone who will prevent you from saying it or spreading it, and doing it unapologetically. Pretty much that alone will make you a threat. Doesn't matter what you wear, doesn't matter what you call yourself, doesn't matter what religious background you claim to be a part of or whatever group. If you have enough influence over the people to where you can communicate ideas, information strategically that will wake them up in no limit of time, 60 seconds to be exact, it will make them, the overlords, the powers that be, say, okay, this individual is a problem, and anyone like him and or her is a problem, and they need to be shut down, censored. We need to make sure that no one hears them.
Let me just throw this in there, just to give us not a hypothetical, but an actual real world example. When the January 6th shit was going down,
Yes.
and the social media companies all sort of came together to ban Trump from the platform. This is like one of the most
That was critical.
concentrated efforts that they, and they found a reason that at the time certainly seemed like it was, reasonable. How did you feel watching that unfold? And, I'm sure you have your own personal feelings about Donald Trump, but just the fact that they were able to do that in general.
Sure. Well, first of all, I'll say this. I like Donald Trump. Everybody's watching. Don't trip. All right. So
Flacco's like, hell yeah.
Right. I like Donald Trump, and not for the reasons that many others may like him or may be the same, but because I want a person to be honest with me. If you don't like me, tell me you don't like me. I don't
told him
need you
that.
to sit here and smile on my face, stab me in the back, as we have been victims of for quite some time. Tell me how you really feel. But the main thing when it comes to January 6th is that I noticed this is a person who was the actual active sitting president of an entire nation. You can censor the president of a nation, and no one is going to question exactly what the implications of that will be down the line for all the rest of us? See, I wasn't looking at, okay, if it was right or wrong. I was looking at the fact of you just censored the president of the United States. What does that mean for anyone else below him? All of us. Anything that we're going to say. Freedom of speech, right? The First Amendment, freedom of religion, speech, press, petition, assembly. Okay, so what does that mean? If you can censor the president of the actual country, what does that mean? So again, at that point, I don't care if he's white or black, Republican, Democrat, Donald Trump. I don't give a damn. You just censored the president, which means I have no chance on these social media platforms. I'm looking at it from that perspective. Nothing else really mattered at that moment.
Is there an ideology so dangerous that it should be acceptable for it to be banned from social media platforms? Like, I'm pretty sure like the KKK is banned from Twitter for the most part, or like, but I also hear that like the Taliban isn't. Because
they're partly funded by the U.S. government. Go ahead.
I mean, like when you look at that, like, do you think that the Klan should be able to have like a thriving 100,000 person group on Facebook, and Facebook should just be forced to allow them to do that?
Well, they do. It's called the Republican Party and the Democratic Party and all the parties. I mean, if you really want to go there, it's called Congress. Listen, one main thing that I don't do is I don't go into the blatant overt things, because that's not how the powers that be move anymore. It's not blatant and overt to a degree. Some people will say, okay, this is blatant, this is obvious. But the people who wear the robes, who are judges, the people who wear the medical doctor robes, the people who handle the policies, they are the ideology. A lot of them happen to be black-faced white supremacists now. Okay, so this basically, what we're looking for is the wrong target. That's my point. We have to look deeper into this. This is why they don't like extreme intellectuals, brother, because we go to the root of a thing. That's what the word radical really means in essence, is to go to the root of something. You are radical, you're crazy. Why? Because I'm not going to compromise my beliefs, number one. Two, I'm not going to just accept what you give me. Number three, I'm going to question everything about you and what you say. And the main thing I'm going to question is your motive. So the thing we have to look at is who is running it for real. And when you look at that all the way beyond the labels, beyond the religions, beyond the gender ideological pseudo-scientific nonsense, and of course, beyond the, I would say, political parties, you see who really runs it. And that's why they don't want people to talk, because you're going to make people think above all the nonsense. All those things divide people. When you say international bankers, when you start going to who pays who, where is the money coming from, follow the money. Then you'll find out who owns everything. And at that point, then things will change.
I got a question for you. You just sitting here on this platform, I would just, How do you feel, sitting next to him, white man on this platform who happens to be an atheist, and
I don't know that.
also, a lot of people saying that he's a culture vulture, and you sitting here like, how do you deal
He's
with
the
that?
main person saying it.
How do you
Number one
deal with
person.
that?
Very simple. Number one, I have to look at your actions. Number one, he's white. Obvious. Happens. Welcome to America. Welcome to the world. It's 2022.
Mayonnaise.
Right. White. I mean, it happens. People are white and black, getting married, having children. It's a reality. What I look at is your motive, and I look at what you do with your relationship with my people. If you use that connection to damage the people, you got to be called out. Do I trust white people as a group? No, never will. And there's nothing you can tell me that will convince me of that. But I don't need to throw that in your face when we're doing things that can go towards benefiting the human family.
But it wouldn't really be fair to say you trust any group, right? Like if I were to say I
For a lot
trust
of people.
women, I trust white people, I trust black people, it's like
Right. Generalizations
silly,
are not
right? Yeah.
intelligent at all when you generalize, unless it's about good things like every human being breathes oxygen.
Right,
Okay. Or
right.
we need air. Okay. Those are positive generalizations. But no. And again, I have to make that very clear so that when I sit down with people, you know where I stand, I know where you stand. But for him to have this platform and for those of us to get on here to have these type of dialogues, I could go back to that old way of thinking. But then again, you have a black militant member of the Nation of Islam. Let's make this very clear. Raw, sitting next to this white dude. And we're going to agree on a lot of points. You happen to be an atheist. I happen to know that a lot of atheists are very logical. And it's very sad because a lot of people who are religious are fanatical and they're dogmatic and they're not logical. They don't know how to think. They go buy books, not in them. They push things that they've heard onto people. They don't know how to apply things in real life. For a lot of them, not the majority. I'm not just blanketing our people. And I'm saying this is in Islam, this is in Christianity, this is Judaism, this is in Taoism, this is in Buddhism, this is in all of the faiths. The Honorable Minister Farrakhan said that Satan has infected all religions. That's number one. So when you go into all of these religious philosophies, think you're better because you have a different label than I do. Number one, you just prove you don't know nothing about your own religious belief. That's number one. A lot of atheists simply don't believe that there is a higher power to a degree. They believe in science. Well, if you believe in science, then you're literally believing in the seen power that is powered by the unseen source. So you believe in God, whether you know it or not. You can call it mathematics. You can call it the universe. You can call it any one of those things. But you just don't want to give it that certain label. That's cool with me. I'm cool with that. Literally, I've had conversations with plenty of atheists, and we agree on the majority of topics. Why? Because the Honorable Minister Farrakhan said we should argue over religion after we're free. The majority of what's going on right now is because of people who confess or profess to believe in some kind of God, but they don't actually carry it out in their actions. They're too busy doing things that go against what they say they believe.
Because the weird thing about being an atheist is that you can agree with most serious religious people because like a Muslim disagrees with all of the other religions, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just add one more
Sometimes.
religion to the mix. You know, like I'm sure there's plenty of stuff that overlaps so that you take notes from or whatever. But, you know, like me having a conversation with like a very, very strict Jew, I mean, we both agree on the idea that all the other religions got it fucked up, right? Got a lot in common. We agree on 99% of shit.
And vice versa. It may be the same with other people in other religious groups, but I will tell you this. I've had conversations with people from every religious group that I just named and many that I have not named. And we come to the reality of what is happening in the world today. Religions have been behind, or should I say, the devil way of activating what you believe to be your religion has been behind the majority of lives lost on planet Earth. People who have used the name of Islam and have done devilish work. People who have used the name of Christianity that have done devilish work. People who have used the name of Judaism and practice real devil stuff. And they say, this is the God I believe in, but you say you believe in this religion. And if that is what your religion teaches, then that's not a religion that can be used. That is not good practice of religion. That is a devil work, and that is dirty practice of religion.
Let me answer this, because one thing I like about having somebody like Flacco on the podcast, and I will give you some time to talk at some point here.
No,
is because a lot of times the media acts as if black people are supposed to be a monolith and have the same progressive opinions about everything. And if you've ever spent any time around black people, you know that that's total bullshit. And so a lot of times people act like Flacco has done this like massive disservice to his people by existing because he has some right-leaning opinions, to say the least. How do you feel about that? Because it feels like that facade is really kind of rubbing off because people are starting to think for themselves more.
All right, people, we just hit 300,000 subscribers. You know we're trying to hit 400,000 subscribers. So that little red button, tap it, tap in. Appreciate y'all.